The buzz surrounding the upcoming solar eclipse on April 8th is palpable, with speculation running rampant about its significance. For some, the eclipse is seen as a portent of major events, perhaps even signaling the end of the world, a divine message from above. However, diverging opinions exist. Skeptics argue that such celestial occurrences are merely natural phenomena devoid of any profound meaning. Ancient myths, like the Norse tale of Skal and Hati chasing the sun and the moon, offer parallels to contemporary interpretations of eclipses. Some view these myths as cautionary tales foretelling impending doom. Yet not everyone subscribes to this belief, dismissing such narratives as mere folklore, with no substantive relevance to reality. Within Christian doctrine, certain passages allude to signs heralding the apocalypse, such as the darkening of the sun. Many individuals draw connections between these biblical prophecies and celestial events, like eclipses, interpreting them as harbingers of ominous times ahead. In essence, the debate surrounding the significance of eclipses epitomizes the age-old clash between faith and reason, myth and science. While some perceive them as divine omens, others attribute them to natural processes. The interpretation ultimately rests on individual perspectives and beliefs, but not everyone agrees on this either. Some people say we should be careful about reading too much into things like eclipses. They think we should look at them with a balanced view, considering both science and religion. As April 8th gets closer, people keep talking about the eclipse. It's a reminder of how curious we are about the world around us, and how differently we can see the same things, depending on our beliefs. During significant events like the 9th plague on Egypt and Jesus' crucifixion, some Christian leaders have suggested that these events indicate God's use of eclipses. Let's delve into these events and see what they tell us, referencing specific verses. 9th plague on Egypt. In Exodus chapter 10, verse 21 to 23, it describes how darkness covered Egypt for 3 days. This darkness wasn't a typical eclipse because it lasted longer than eclipses do. It was a unique miracle from God. The verse says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Stretch out your hand toward the sky so that darkness may come over the land of Egypt,' a darkness that can be felt. So Moses stretched out his hand toward the sky, and total darkness covered all Egypt for 3 days. No one could see anyone else or move about for 3 days. Yet all the Israelites had light in the places where they lived." Darkness at Jesus' crucifixion. In the accounts of Jesus' crucifixion in the Gospels, darkness is mentioned. For example, in Matthew chapter 27, verse 45, it says, "From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land." This darkness is often seen as symbolic of the gravity and sorrow of Jesus' crucifixion, but it's not described as a solar eclipse in the Bible. During the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, an extraordinary event occurred. Darkness enveloped the land. This darkness descended at noon and persisted until 3:00 p.m., spanning approximately 3 hours. This duration contradicts the typical length of a solar eclipse, suggesting a supernatural cause. Luke chapter 23 verse 44 describes this darkness, stating, "It was now about the 6th hour, and darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour." Furthermore, the timing of Jesus' death during the Passover adds another layer of significance. The Passover coincides with the full moon, occurring when the Earth is positioned between the sun and the moon. However, solar eclipses require the moon to be between the Earth and the sun, presenting a discrepancy. This divergence from the astronomical pattern underscores the miraculous nature of the darkness during Jesus' crucifixion, highlighting divine intervention. This divine intervention is reminiscent of the 9th plague on Egypt, where darkness covered the land for 3 days. Exodus chapter 10, verse 21 to 23 recounts this event. "Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Stretch out your hand toward the sky so that darkness may come over the land of Egypt, a darkness that can be felt.'" Looking ahead to future events and heavenly signs, Revelation chapter 6, verse 12 provides insight. It describes the 6th seal, which causes the sun to turn black and the moon to appear like blood. This prophetic vision hints at forthcoming celestial phenomena that will signal significant events. In Joel chapter 2 verse 31, it says that before the great and terrible day of the Lord, the sun will be turned into darkness and the moon into blood. This verse has led some to believe that recent astronomical events are signs of the end times. However, the real heavenly signs described in the prophecy will be global, unmistakable, and entirely unnatural. These signs will be caused by God's direct intervention, not by the natural alignment of the Earth and Moon. We're not sure if these signs mean an eclipse. During a solar eclipse, the sun looks dark because of how the sun, moon, and Earth line up. But the moon doesn't turn red then. And during a lunar eclipse, the moon can turn red, but it doesn't make the sun look dark. So, it's unlikely that the verse is talking about an eclipse. Other things will happen too, like stars falling from the sky, which could be like meteors, and mountains and islands moving because of strong earthquakes. Revelation chapter 6, verse 13 to 14. These signs will be very clear and not something that happens naturally. They will show that it's the beginning of a special time called the Day of the Lord. First, religious deception. Matthew chapter 24, verse 4 to 5 states, Jesus answered, "Be careful that no one misleads you, deceiving you and leading you into error. For many will come in my name, misusing it and appropriating the strength of the name which belongs to me, saying, I am the Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed, and they will mislead many." Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 to 2 describes another event. Then I saw, as the Lamb, Christ, broke one of the 7 seals of the scroll, initiating the judgment. And I heard one of the 4 living creatures call out as with a loud voice of thunder, "Come!" I looked, and behold, a white horse of victory, whose rider carried a bow, and a crown of victory was given to him. And he rode forth conquering and to conquer. The second event is about wars and rumors of wars. Matthew chapter 24 verse 6 states, "You will continually hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not frightened, for those things must take place, but that is not yet the end of the age." Revelation chapter 6 verse 3 to 4. When the Lamb broke the second seal, I heard the second living creature call out, "Come." And another, a fiery red horse of bloodshed came out, and its rider was empowered to take peace from the earth, so that men would slaughter one another. And a great sword of war and violent death was given to him. Matthew chapter 24 verse 7. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Revelation chapter 6 verse 5 to 6. When the Lamb broke open the third seal, I heard the third living creature call out, "Come." I looked, and behold, a black horse of famine, and the rider had in his hand a pair of scales, a balance. And I heard something like a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not damage the oil and the wine." Revelation chapter 6 verse 7 to 8. When the Lamb broke open the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature call out, "Come." So I looked, and behold, an ash and pale greenish-gray horse, like a corpse representing death and pestilence, and its rider's name was Death, and Hades, the realm of the dead, was following with him. They were given authority and power over a 4th part of the earth to kill with the sword, and with famine, and with plague, pestilence, disease, and by the wild beasts of the earth. Matthew chapter 24 verse 8. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Matthew chapter 24 verse 21. For then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. Matthew chapter 24 verse 29. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Revelation chapter 6 verse 12 to 14. I watched as he opened the 6th seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like a sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red, and the stars in the sky fell to earth, as figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind. The heavens receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 2. This is what the Lord says, "Do not learn the ways of the nations, or be terrified by signs in the heavens." 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 1. The Spirit clearly says that in later times some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 3. Let no one in any way deceive or entrap you, for that day will not come, unless the apostasy comes first, that is, the great rebellion, the abandonment of the faith by professed Christians, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction, the Antichrist, the one who is destined to be destroyed. 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 1 to 7. But understand this, that in the last days dangerous times of great stress and trouble will come, difficult days that will be hard to bear. For people will be lovers of self, narcissistic, self-focused, lovers of money, impelled by greed, boastful, arrogant, revelers, disobedient to parents, ungrateful, unholy, and profane. And they will be unloving, devoid of natural human affection, callous and inhumane, unable to control themselves, intemperate, immoral, brutal, haters of good, traitors, reckless, conceited, lovers of sensual pleasure rather than lovers of God, holding to a form of outward godliness, religion, although they have denied its power. For their conduct nullifies their claim of faith. Avoid such people and keep far away from them, for among them are those who worm their way into homes and captivate morally weak and spiritually dwarfed women, weighed down by the burden of their sins, easily swayed by various impulses, always learning and listening to anybody who will teach them, but never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. Chapter 3, verse 1-9 discusses possible signs of the end times. While specific verses are not explicitly mentioned in the passage provided, it references themes found throughout the Bible. Here are some related verses. Genesis chapter 17, verse 8. The whole land of Canaan, where you now reside as a foreigner, I will give as an everlasting possession to you and your descendants after you, and I will be their God. Ezekiel 37. This entire chapter speaks about the vision of the valley of dry bones and the promise of the restoration of Israel. Daniel chapter 10, verse 14. Now I have come to explain to you what will happen to your people in the future, for the vision concerns a time yet to come. Daniel chapter 11, verse 41. He will also invade the beautiful land. Many countries will fall, but Edom, Moab, and the leaders of Ammon will be delivered from his hand. Revelation. While no specific verse is mentioned, the book of Revelation is often associated with prophecy and the end times. In Revelation chapter 22, verse 20, Jesus says, "Yes, I am coming quickly." It means he will come back soon. We believe this will happen, but we don't know exactly when. In Titus chapter 2, verse 13, it talks about eagerly waiting for Jesus to come back. Some people might think that since Jesus could come back any time, they should just stop working and wait. But in Matthew chapter 24, verse 36, Jesus says that nobody knows when he will come back, so we should keep doing our work until he does. There's a story in Luke chapter 19, verse 12-13 about a king who tells his servants to do business while he's gone. This means we should keep doing our work until Jesus returns. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 58, Paul tells us to always work hard for God. And in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 6, it says to always be ready and not be lazy. Jesus never said to stop working and wait for him. In John chapter 9, verse 4, he says we should work while we still can. If we just sit around waiting for Jesus, we won't be doing what he asked us to do. In Mark chapter 16, verse 15, Jesus tells us to go out and tell people about him. The apostles, like Paul, believed Jesus would come back soon, but they didn't stop working. They kept spreading the good news about Jesus. We should do the same. Every day is a gift from God, so let's use it to do good things and make him happy. In addition to eclipses, various other celestial events and natural disasters are often scrutinized for their potential significance in relation to biblical prophecy. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and meteor showers are among the phenomena that have been speculated upon in religious and eschatological contexts, contributing to the ongoing discourse on the end times. Furthermore, the concept of religious deception and the rise of false prophets and messiahs, as described in biblical passages, adds another layer to the discussion. Some interpret contemporary religious and political figures or movements as fulfilling these prophetic warnings, further fueling speculation about the imminence of apocalyptic events. Ultimately, the debate surrounding celestial phenomena and their interpretation underscores the complex interplay between faith, reason, and cultural context. While religious beliefs may shape one's perception of such events, scientific inquiry and empirical evidence offer alternative explanations, highlighting the multifaceted nature of human understanding in the face of cosmic mysteries.